Hey, it's Andrew Crawford here, and welcome to the Mix Wizard Sessions. So, a couple of little housekeeping things to get out of the way first off. So if you hadn't noticed, I've set up a YouTube page, The Mix Wizard, and yeah, go there, follow that, and you'll be able to see all of the Mix Wizard sessions that I'm putting together, and yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy them. So a couple of things. These are going to be practical mix sessions, showing you and teaching mixing techniques. So they're not necessarily technical things about how to do something on the console. They are really, creative mixing, how I go about mixing, how I use the consoles, how I use compressors, EQ, and all of the deep processing stuff that is in all of the Allen Heath consoles. So that's what I'm going to unpack for you in these sessions. The first session today, what I'm going to unpack, probably a lot of people watching this have spent the weekend live streaming, and what I want to unpack for you is how to make your mix sound big and fat and still be dynamic on the live stream. Okay, and there are some techniques to this. So I'm going to start on SQ. There's a lot of SQ users out there, okay, and you've probably been thrust into live streaming this weekend, and hopefully this video will help you. What I'm going to show you are some techniques, and they're not new techniques, but they might be techniques that you're very unaware of. So some of them are, just bus structure, and the main one is a technique which is called parallel compression, which will help us get our shrink our dynamic range, okay, so we can turn it up and have our live stream sounding big and full. Okay, one great thing about this, SQ has this built in, as do all of Vanis and DLive. But I'm going to start on SQ and show you. So one other thing I want to say now as well, thanks to the guys, I was planning on using this in the future. We shot a Mix Wizard session in Perth the other week, and I got some great footage. We recorded the whole night, and we actually had a live band. So thanks to the guys at Riverview, I'm using some of that footage now, and that's the band that we've got playing. So what I'm going to show you, I've got a band already mixed and going, okay? So in this session, I'm not going to show you how to mix the band. What I'm going to teach you is how to apply, because hopefully you've all got mixers going on within your desk. And what I'm going to show you is how to apply some master bus techniques that will help make your mix sound much fuller on the live stream. So, one thing about that as well, okay, so some practical things that I'm going to show you and just talk about. So I always utilize the matrices on the consoles. So SQ has matrices, so I mix my left-right, goes to the first matrices, matrix 1, and that feeds the PA, okay? I always do that, and whenever I'm setting up SQs for anyone, that's a technique that I always do. So I am just checking my record levels are good. The other thing that I do is the next matrix, I normally reserve for something else. That could be an overflow, could be a cry room. In live applications, quite often that could be front fill or it could be delay speakers. And the third I always reserve for streaming or for video record. And I go about this process of setting these up. So if the PA is too loud, I will turn the matrix down. I always want to keep my levels through the console very consistent. Okay, so I get a great level to my video record or to my live streaming in this case. So I'm going to show you, some of my setup. So, I'll probably have some cutaways in some of this. And, basically I'm going to hit go. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to play back some of the band. And what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at my master bus. So on my left-right bus, I have a parallel compressor. Okay, and it's in the whole time, and literally I'm going to switch it in and out and you will hear it. I'm obviously sending my audio feed out to this record as well, so you will hear when I turn the parallel compression off, my mix drastically jumps in level, okay, and becomes much smaller sounding. When I turn it back on, the mix comes up, because what we're doing is we're taking a parallel compressed version of the sound. So if that's my dynamic window, I'm taking a compressed version and putting it in, okay? So I still have the full dynamic range, and then I'm putting a very compressed version in and sitting it in the mix. So it's giving the mix a lot more energy. Now, some people call this mastering. Sometimes we call it adding a little bit of special sauce. So what I'm going to show you is what I'm doing with adding that special sauce. I'm going to switch it in and out, and we'll take a quick look. So I've got my mix going, I've got the band. I'm actually going to leave the vocals off for the minute, and I'm just going to hit go in my Reaper session. And I should have jumped a little bit further before. So you can already see this is my master bus. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. Quite dramatic, you can hear it straight away. Off again. So what I've got going on here as well is these controls, which is the wet dry. Okay, I've got them both at 0, you can see. Okay. I've got my threshold way down at like 20, and we're just in compression all the time. We're only at a 4:1 ratio. Now, a couple of things. Peak. For this application, I quite like the peak on. Very slow attack. So 30, quite fast release. Okay. So I've made it a peak compressor. I do have the filter engaged. Okay. But this is the gold right here, is this parallel path. Okay. So the parallel path is taking the complete dry signal and the compressed signal and putting them back together. Okay, so that is a hugely unique feature. Not all your consoles have it, but all of Alan Heath consoles do, which is excellent. I'm going to play back another bit now, the exact same bit. I'm going to add the vocals in. Actually, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go later on in the song where they do this, build up.
Looks like this is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise
vocals.
you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise. We'll see you break down every wall. We watch the giants fall.
Cool. So hopefully straight away you're hearing it's making the mix go from like this to going like this. Now, I'm still not clipping, okay? So I've set my headroom, okay? And I'll actually have a quick look at a couple of the other settings that I've set up in this, okay? But the parallel compression is the secret. Now, it actually is a mastering technique. So if you're getting your CD mastered, because what we are doing with the live streaming is we're trying to get all of our levels up, okay, by shrinking the dynamic range. If I just did bus compression, not the parallel path, okay, you'll find your mix will actually start to sound extremely compressed. So this is a great way of mixing the compressed and the uncompressed together, okay, and putting it all, basically making the mix sound fatter, which you can clearly hear. It's what it's doing. So I'm going to have a quick look. So spin around with me and have a quick look here. So my mix is going to my master, and I've called it streaming, and you should be able to see that now, okay. I do have a limiter set up here as well. So I've got a threshold of 6 on that. That's a 10:1 attack of 10, okay. So, and it's just a straight limiter. That's on my output feeding my live stream. So as soon as it gets to, +6, it's starting, we're going to basically go into limiting and get rid of everything else. So the master bus, I've got no gain there. Now, sometimes you could add more gain. Play with that. Start with 0. I like 0. 0 is a good start. Okay. Just having a quick look as well. So in the routing, my left-right source, My left right is feeding into, if I look at left right, I've added 4 dB of gain going out to the stream. Okay, and that's obviously the left right feeding to the matrix, and then the limiter is the last thing in that stage. So the limiter on my matrix is the last thing. So this limiter here is the very last thing. So hopefully that's helping you a bit. The other thing that I want to have a quick look at is also just adding some shelving EQ. So I find when I've created a mix, and especially if I've got a live mix, which a lot of you might have live mixes that you've had on the weekend, and now you're taking that live mix and you're listening on headphones or referencing on something. Now I've not touched on this, so let's stop here for a second and have a quick look, or I'll give you my thoughts. The best way is referencing your mix to something commercial. So take your mix, grab your iPod or something, grab something that you can play some files off, and listen to your mix compared to the other mix. Now be careful that you're not playing your iPod back through your processing, okay? And I'll unpack this at another stage. But if you're EQing your iPod feed, your music source of your known content, you don't want to be EQing that. So send those channels directly to a matrix or something like that, or send to a group where you can get them to your output without them being EQ'd, because that already should be a great reference. So listen to that as your base, and then listen to your mix. I pretty much always find if it's a live mix and things, my mix is always a little dull, okay? So let's look at what I've got going on, and I've got a couple of filters already in here, but I think I would add another filter, and I'll show you what that filter would do for us, okay? Which is just a shelf, and I just wind it up and down a couple of dB just to brighten up and give the whole mix more clarity. Especially when you're listening on computers and things like that, you want to get as much clarity into the mix as you can. So let's have a quick listen. I am going to keep the vocals muted here, okay? What I've got going on, if I go to my band one here, okay, I've already got a little bit of a shelf on the band, giving the whole band a little bit of a shelf. Okay, a little bit of a dip and a little bit of a boost on the bottom end. So let's see what that gives us. And my computer's a little slow. Okay, so I'm going to switch this EQ in and out for you. Subtle. Just brightening everything up a little. Okay, there's a little bit on the vocals. So what I like to do is go to my master mix bus and just add some shelf. Now this can be right down to 1K. Cool, so hopefully you're hearing that. Hopefully as I'm switching in and out, you're hearing the EQ should brighten, give us a lot more clarity. So I'm just going to do one more. Just going to jump into this song here. And I'm going to remove the vocals again because you'll hear it very clearly. So without the EQ. Just last time for the compression. Cool. So hopefully that's been helpful. So what I'm going to unpack in the next episode, I'm actually going to look at how I went together putting the mix together on an SQ. And what I'm doing, you might have noticed there's some groups going on. So I'm going to unpack and look at what I've got going on in the SQ to put those sounds together. What reverbs, what other bits I'm using. Okay, so yeah, as I said, jump on, feel free, give me some feedback. You know, we're all, you know, I'm learning this live streaming thing, you know, together. So yeah, I'm real happy. Please send me some feedback, any thoughts. If there's any real topics that you'd love to see, again, feel free, put them up to me. Yeah, my aim is I'm going to keep shooting a bunch of these things. Yeah, so jump on. I'll share it on all the socials, so hopefully you'll find it. But yeah, jump on to the Mix Wizard YouTube channel, and yeah, basically subscribe to that, and you'll see the videos as I put them all up. And yeah, looking forward to tomorrow's video. See ya.